Hey, for last year I've been using that 3D printer for my fish room and other projects. I want to say to you, is it worth it to keep it for aquarist purpose? And quickly I will answer, if you got only one tank and you don't have printer, then no, it's not worth it. Buy everything ready out of the box from companies, or maybe ask a friend for a thing or two if you can't find it online to print it. But if you go to fish room, well, it depends. And in this video I will try explain the pros and cons and what exactly I meant about that. Yeah, in the beginning I was really quite shy to use it in aquarist purpose. I was wondering what type of plastic use. Like in here you've got a PETG plastic that is put layer by layer in here. Other popular type of printers are resin printers, but I don't have one, so I can tell a lot about it, especially in aquarist purposes. They are believed to be a little bit more precise in prints, look, finish of it, but less durable, I guess. Products, maybe it's disputable. I can't say anything more about that, so returning to main topic. For a few months I was doing such different adapters, DIY projects not related to fish, and then I decided to use PLA plastic and PETG plastic for aquarius as well, which after 10 months of using it in water, I'm quite sure they are fine enough to use it like that. I had in my basement a fish rack, and that was it. I didn't plan to expand it. I've added some smaller rack in here just because that barrel of water change system was standing in here, so I wasn't able to put anything not fish related above it. Yeah, and finally the last fish tank in here was from my other rooms put in here, so I believe that small part of my basement is my fish room, not fish rack. Nevertheless, I just want to show you what I've done using that 3D printer. I really go heavy on the first project with it, as I've added those water change protection on tubes endings, as at first in that fish room was only water pouring in and it wasn't touching water, so there weren't any problems with fish sucking in. But once I decided to extend it, I had to do some mesh protection, and this is my first project with a regular not 3D printed metal mesh, and it's doing fine, so I'm not replacing it, but I had to multiply it by 10 or more, so I didn't want to buy ready products, as I would have to use really small ones to be cheaper, or bigger ones fine but pay more. Since once I decided I had already 3D printer, I decided to look on internet what to use, and I've tested different products like ready like this one, from where I am getting models from internet. So there are really a lot of pages with free already available designs. You can download files. I'm using particularly Thingiverse website, and they are mostly for non-commercial use, like you can print it but not particularly sell or whatever, or you can design yourself, but it's really painful to dive into it. It's like already possessing 3D printer is some learning curve got, like you have to assemble it, like mine most came like in 3 parts, but cheaper versions are like you have to almost screw everything by yourself, so beware of that. And designing is like quite painful if you didn't done it earlier for many months. So for first few months or year or whole your life, you can use already done projects. There are a lot of aquarium related designs you can use. You can on your own scale it down or up. It's in the 3D printer preparation application, easy to do, so that's a quite relief. Like I've said, I was testing different designs and ended up in quite a big element but it can be detachable, and I can put in here a small sponge, so even if that holes are quite big for guppy fry or other fry, sponge is protecting it, and if sponge will clog up, then I can easily remove it and clean it. But after those 10 months or so, I didn't have to clean anything, because this is the same way to put in water, so that sponge is pushing back anything it catches, it can give it back by pouring in water, clean water, I guess, and I hope it will work like that for many more months or years. So that was really successful. I know that I could buy some ready solutions, but that option to open it easily and get it like to hands one piece and decide if I want to multiply it, get 10 or so without shipment, etc. It's good comparable price, but better experience with it. This is like a different stuff, like aerostones, plastic aerostones. I wouldn't say that it's a succeed. I've tested different types. Main thing is that plastic is light, so it's like floating. I had to like glue in here some rocks or whatever to make it heavier even to use it, so I would say it isn't the best solution. I had in hand some resin aerostones that got better precision and can be attached into sponge filters inside of filter tubes, so I guess people are using resin printers, but maybe they are sufficient enough, as well. Later on I decided to add some handles of my lids, because I had like the DIY plastic banded type of elements, not necessarily lid holders, but on edge I had banded plastics to keep it, preventing it falling down without that handles. And I've decided to 3D print handles and as well those elements, like you can see it's holding lids. I didn't print are those in tanks, only those holders are everywhere. So that's an open project, but in here there were some options to print from ready files, at least similar things to this, to hold the glass lids, but it looks so simple enough that I've tried to do it myself, just to learn design simple projects, and I'm glad I did it, because except of having those, I've got some little bit knowledge to that 3D design, and actually with such a simple projects you are designing only 2D picture. Like, imagine this is a two-dimensional picture, and what you do is add in application second dimension, just how much you want to extend that one layer, and that's it. You got 3D project. But the downside of it is that, like, you only designed it in one dimension, so it is symmetric, and in here isn't happening any extra stuff that aren't on second side. Like you cannot design such a thing only on 2D dimension, because that third dimension got different shapes in it, I guess. Yeah. So if anybody counts, 2 out of 3 projects came really good. So only one I would say was bad, those iron stones, and my custom designs were a succeed, and that water change was as well succeed. But maybe downside is, like, if you got white elements in water, then you really quickly can see some algae, dirt and whatever. If it's black, it's harder to spot on such a stuff, so I recommend to use black elements inside of it. Like, this tank got only a month or so, and it's already got some algae on it visible. Leave in a comment if you agree or have different opinion about those 3D printers in aquarist world, especially in fish rooms. And if you got already some cool ideas 3D printed that can be useful for me or for other people. You may know or may not know that I am trying to build or build it already a fish fry system that is like some kind of variation or copy of the Master Breeder Dean from Aquarium Club channel. Yeah. So I've used that GoPro accessories, extenders, very different projects of different people, and 3D printed it all just to have some more versatile stuff to design that holder for tubes, gang valve, water flow. Yeah. That part isn't 3D printed because I decided to buy it as it's more durable plastic and it won't clog up inside, I guess. But the rest of 3D printed and just made it without a lot of measurements, because if it would be too short I would add some additional extender or yeah. So it's holding like that. You can see that I didn't decide to 3D print those air stones. I've just used some filtration element that was just regulation, not even ironstone, but I'm using it like a ironstone. It's kind of similar to these ironstones, but it's not. And and I've using like in Master Bidodin refrigerator shelves or tabs. There are some projects of 3D printed tabs that they look amazing, but that is a huge downside, I guess, that all those prints are taking freaking long time. Like, those two elements are printed separately and each of it was taking like 3 to 5 hours. I don't remember exactly, but totally it was like 7 hours or 8 to 3D print those two parts. So I had to print day and night those projects. Like, I knew that I can leave it for night, and after 3 hours it would 3D print, and that morning I would just take it down and print a second part. So 8 hours, 10 times or more, and then you can see how many hours that 3D printer was printing it. Yeah, but it's like sometimes I'm not using that 3D printer for months, so it's not like I've got a lot of projects waiting to be printed. If I remember to print something that maybe I will need it in future, and then I'm setting up printer and it prints it. And if I'm really need something and I don't have, then I am just patient about it, and finally I will get it. So I don't want to make it too long. Summing up, if you have time to wait a little bit, as in fish room you maybe want to have some element times 10, times 20, 40, depends on how big fish room you've got, then it may be easier, cheaper and faster to order ready products, unless you've got really cool design you can't find anywhere, then it's worth of course waiting. As for money, I would say it's quite cheap, but if you want to order some 50 elements of something and want it durable, it will be more expensive in 3D printer, I guess, because the more elements you want to buy and it's like quite small or whatever, then shipment isn't in that 100 elements an issue. Downside is the time you have to wait, plan it, organize. You don't have it like immediately if it's 10 times, 20 times multiplied, but if you want one piece or setup, like here, if it's quite low height project, you can set up multiple different elements, but they have to be like low in height, I guess, and you can set up to print them overnight. And the main issue, I wasn't talking about it yet, is a cost of 3D printer itself and learning curve with it. Like, you have to calibrate it and be aware that not all prints are coming beautiful immediately, or from time to time you can have plastic lying too long and maybe it's too waste too much humidity in it, and it will print with lower quality, and the best idea would be change for fresh plastic or try to calibrate it if that was an issue. So price of 3D printer, if you want just make an excuse to buy 3D printer just for fish project, fish room or aquarium, then no, I don't recommend it. You can find a lot of stuff on internet ready, and it would be cheaper. I wouldn't say that having a printer will be a good idea to invest it just for fish tanks. But if you plan to buy it anyway and you just want to have another reason to do it immediately, then fine. Yes, I think it's worth to have it as an tool, but only if you already planning to buy it, not as a must-have in fish room. That would be extreme. You would have to have a lot of ideas to design them and test them, and maybe then that would be a reason to buy that 3D printer. But if you want just to print few stuff, then this is what I've said at the beginning, that it depends. If you got a 3D printer, then yes, you can print it, and it's really fun additional hobby to emerge with your existing hobbies. So that's a cool thing. That this is for this Brime Shrimp Hatchery. It's original, I hope, from internet. I probably could design similar holder with 3D printer, but for me it would take ages to design it, print it without breaking down, as it's quite a big project. For that zone you've got on 3D printer isn't as really big or high, so you have to be careful with it, and the plastic isn't as durable. I wouldn't rely on putting 2 liters of water on some 3D printed part and be hoping that it will stand for years of abuse, and be everything fine. You would have to design the project with a thought of all that. Probably it wouldn't be looking like that. You would probably add some additional elements joining together just to make it more durable, and it would take more filament than you think. Yeah. I wouldn't say about exact prices of filament, because it's probably depends where you live, and as well printers year after year they are cheaper. I bought Creality printer, not the cheapest model, but not as well as some expensive ones. So I just was glad to have such a feature like this. This is checking if it's reaching the table, and it helps self-calibrate, because maybe you've got some level up issues and you didn't properly calibrate it with it, or that's bending on middle and you can't calibrate it, so it's measuring 9 or 12 or more points on plate, the difference in height, and corrects it in software. In cheaper printers you would have to make it more manually, go in some mold and maybe put some paper and check how much to correct each side, and put notes and enter it in that system in here. For me it already sounds scary to do, so I'm glad I invested a little bit more money to have it already automatic. I've probably spent for that printer about $200, but it's in Poland, so in different country it will be different price. And like I said, if you buy a cheaper one, they may be in box almost every part separate, and you would spend 2 days to mount it and hope that calibration will be enough to make it run. Yeah. Okay, I forgot to talk about that eggs grabbers that should in theory suck up eggs and put them in some other containers. I've tested this design with that fish, blue eyes, but I'm not sure if the eggs are really sticky or so, because it wasn't working. I have seen in most eggs, but they weren't sucking in. Maybe flow was too small. Now I will try with it with Celestial Danio, and maybe it will be better, but right now it's like stopped pushing water, and I'm kind of annoyed with such a problem. So for now I will probably take it out, put normal bowl just to have some eggs, and while I will start seeing some eggs and take out few for a few days, then maybe I will return with that project and test it again, because maybe I will have to invest in some parts not 3D printed to take automatically collect those eggs, but I have to be sure that my CPDs will produce those eggs, and I will be able to hatch them and keep up with growing them in my fry system. Yeah. As for 3D printed mesh, it's quite clever idea that you've got two elements. You buy mesh, you can't print it. You can buy it, but it's quite cheap, and you got a lot of it. Cut out square and push it in here, lock it down, and that's it. So I think it's worth it if you already have printer or already planning to buy it for your different projects. So that kind of stuff are actual reason we bought 3D printer. Like I'm talking about those shelves, not Fingles itself. And this is what I've talked about, scaling down already existing projects and maybe adding some small elements into it. Like this is my wife's shell, and I'm doing similar for my child. And one element is like printing for 5 hours. You can see how much time is it taking to print such a thing. It's an extra additional element you can print. Some different holders. This holder is for water level probe, so you can easily attach it in aquarium and make some projects with alarms of water level to being too high or too low, or just to embed it into some auto water change systems. Yeah. That is cool that in those projects you can 3D print screws and they are working fine. Those are the same project. This is like 3D printed, not yet cleaned out from some plastic leftovers. I'm cutting it out and with lighter cleaning edges. But this is same project, scaled down. Like this is original, too long and quite big, and that one was scaled down to be smaller, but as well on different proportion, higged lower. So you can do that easily with that 3D printing program while you are preparing layer, like plate, what will be printed on your printer and in which zone of that printer. My phytoplankton, I was printing aerostones, like flat ones, round. I was scaling them to fit in easily in here, but as well I had to glue to them rocks, and after a while they were clogged up. Maybe because I've scaled them in different scale that it was designed by someone, maybe that's why they were clogged up after 2 months or so. Nevertheless, it wasn't a good idea after all those aerostones for me. If you already haven't seen my phytoplankton video, please watch it if you are interested in culturing Moinia, Daphnia and other rotifers with green water, or about green water in general, as I'm revealing my way of doing it in that video, and that should be decent informations in it here.